Like, I look over and my flask had caught on fire because the fumes from the chemical. I didn't realize it. And what happened was I was trying to put it out, but I didn't want to drop it. And all of a sudden it exploded and it like ran up my arm, burned the hair off of my arm. But it was such a fast fire because it burned everything quickly. But the liquid fell on the table and it like in a stream of fire across. The TA ran out of the room. He thought the whole thing was going to blow up. But I realized, why would they leave all these chemicals like that open when you have an idiot like me that is doing it? They could blow the whole lab up. I look like the Statue of Liberty. My arm was on fire.
They had plexiglass shields in front, so that when you did the experiment, you work with behind it, but your face was shielded. And then we had you have to have what you call vents.
They had the vents
to
draw it out,
draw out the fumes.
Yeah, but no, this TA just ran out of the room, but I was like, luckily it was such a fast burn that it just burned off all, I guess, the alcohol or whatever the chemical was. But I'll never get a lesson about taking shortcuts in your
career. Alcohol burns. Doesn't even burn with such hot flame.
Fast.
Very fast.
Yeah, it's probably more show than anything else.
But then some of the other kind of fuels, even benzene burns very badly. Or any those that have long carbon chains will burn very hot.
Well, I thought they would eventually kick me out of the class because they just
always happens some kind of explosion in the lab.
The lab or seatbelts in the car.
I remember when a cop pulled me over and gave me a ticket because I had the kids in the car with no seatbelts.
What are you talking about?
It's new rule. I go, what do you want to know that for? Goes with the supposed to be a certain kind, otherwise they have to have him in Parsons. And I go, Parsons? What are you talking about? Yeah.
All right. Boys and girls, I think we should get started. We said 9:30 we're starting. We didn't. Dominion got schlepped a little bit today. We had laning. It chauffeur blue. What? I'm still in good form. I thought it was a little schwach today.
Perfect now. What I expect on Rosh Hashanah.
I'm still. In my opinion, I'm still struggling. Really. Yeah. Well. Yeah, I know, but it's really not that. I have to get used to. I know it sounds strange. Blowing in Florida versus blowing in New York. There's more humidity. It's harder because there's more humidity. More water gets into the shofar. So you have to do it. No, don't matter. It doesn't matter. It comes from the whole thing. All right. We are holding on Bays Amid Bays 2B1. We were in the wait till Vinny. Okay, yeah. So, and we were on we're on the right paragraph. Okay. So if you remember our Mishnah began Ha'isha Niklas B'Shloisha Dirachim. Bring it. Yeah. Yeah, that is. It says Ha'isha Niklas, a woman is acquired B'Shloisha Dirachim, in 3 paths, in 3 ways. The Gemara is bothered by that extra word, Dirachim, ways. What the heck do you need the extra word for? Says the Gemara like this: My area the Tani Shalosh, Lishni Shaloisha. Just say it in the masculine form. What's the reason that you say Shalosh in the female form? Say it in the way we always write, in the masculine form. Shaloisha, David Shalosh. David Shalai. It's a dicta Gemara. There we go. Mishum de kaboya lemisne derech. Because we wanted to use the word derech, way, immediately afterwards. A woman is maybe acquired in three ways. The derech loshen nekevu, and derech is a loshen of nekeva. It's a feminine fortune. The diksiv v'yadato lahem es derech yelchuba, and you shall make it known to them that they may walk in it. Okay, so in other words, since we wanted to use the word derech, ways, Memela we use the female version of the wording all the way through. So break the Gemara nah, but we learned in the Mishnah the Shiva Dirochin Boitkin Esazov. In 7 ways, a Zav, someone who sees a bodily emission, is checked to see what his condition is. Nisni Sheva, say Sheva, not Shiva, Sheva. Because if you say every time we use the word derech, right? Every time we use the word derech, we're going feminine. Then use the word the feminine word over there by checking it out. Sheva, not Shiva, which is the masculine version of the word. You didn't know that, by the way, Jeff. We have masculine versions and female versions. Well, you're now about to be introduced to it. But to derech, the argument was made with the word. Right. And it doesn't. And you have to remember, it doesn't matter because we're still doing it with the word derech. We're making an argument. We're making an argument that every time the word derech, pathway, is used, derech is a feminine form of the language, and therefore we want to say that the word attached to the word ways should also be feminine. But you see by the Zav that it is male. Bishiva derachim as opposed to bisheva derachim. Says the Gemara, Nishum de kabayla misnei derech. Once again, it was used now we're going the other way. The masculine number of Shiva was used because we wanted to say the word derech. 2b2. The Ashkechon, therefore, derech the ikri loshen zacha. There are times when the word derech, pathways, is used in the masculine form. Kidiksiv b'derech echad yetzu elecha b'shivim dirachim yonus lefnecha. In one way they should go out to you, and in 7 ways they will run from you. Okay? If that's the case, then the psukim are contradicting each other, and the Mishnah is contradicting each other. In other words, make up your mind. When we use the word derech, ways, masculine or feminine? Well, that's because you know the end of the Gemara. But right now the Gemara wants, but the Gemara, because the Gemara is using psukim, even though that obviously is the obvious answer, the Gemara is going to work itself way to it. First, when it comes to psukim, you don't make jumps of intuitiveness. First, you bring the question. Now, based on the question, which must have an answer, we're going to bring it forward. 2b2. 2b2. Right? And for the Gemara, the psukim do not contradict each other because the gender of derech depends upon which the context is. Like my father's been saying the whole time. In the Torah where it says, with Torah ikri lashon nekeva, and the gender of the Torah is always written, David, in the feminine version. Diksiv Torah Hashem Tamima Mishivas Nafesh. The Torah of Hashem is perfect, restoring the soul. Kosav lo b'loshen nekeva. By the way, Shema b'ni musara v'yicha v'yalti toish Torah si mecha. Now you see where the simple explanation of that is. that the Torah is written in the feminine way. In the why? By the way, there's another reason for that. Because her pathways, darkei noyam, are the pathways of pleasantness. And all her directions are peace. We say it every day. We said it today, right? But when we were putting the Sefer Torah away, that's what we say. Here, let me have right here. Let me show to you. Right over here. Remember we were putting it away? Here we go. Its ways are the ways of pleasantness, and all its paths are peace. That's what we say when we put the Sefer Torah away. Whose ways are pleasant?
Just reading it, not knowing what you're reading.
Yeah,
I
now,
always even know.
now you know.
Yeah,
But now you see it. We say this, Ben, right when we put away the Sefer Torah, Yomar, in there is this pasuk. And her ways, and the ways of pleasantness, and all her paths are peace. Who's pleasant? Who's a peace? We all know the women. Bang, written in feminine. Is actually right there with that extra hey is fit. So now the Torah is written in the cable. Oh, this is extraordinarily important. And David, listen to this, because it will go straight to the Israeli army of today. Oh, something will come when the pasuk says, one way they will come after you, and 7 ways you'll chase them away. We're talking about war. It is the way of men to make war. It is not the way of women to make war. Now, the women might argue about this, but in fact, we all know that the rule about not wearing women's clothes and women not wearing men's clothes, right? In fact, the context of women not wearing men's clothes is in the context of war. They should not wear army gear. That's what the Torah says. We don't want women in body bags. But there's something much, that's the basic, the simple answer, that could destroy a country's psyche. But there's another reason. Because again, ultimately, whether we like to hear it or not, it is men that are supposed to be outwards and forward with a certain aggressiveness and assertiveness. Kol kevoida, all the honor, kol kevoida bas melech benimah, all the honor and glory of the daughter of the king is internal. She runs the home. Her responsibilities are the home and everything that goes with it, including, like we said yesterday, the idea that she's supposed to influence everybody else to be great, which is a much harder job. It's a selfless job. War is not conducive to that. Women, when they talk about equal rights, the idea of equal rights is not to become men. You're not a man. That was a great flaw in what took place in our lifetimes. It's not just that the roles were missed, is that the glory of each of those roles. So we have women today who want to be masculine, and we've got men today that are acting feminine, and we've got a messed up world. Further. Okay, and it's literally right here. You see it right here in the Gemara. You can't make this stuff up. And I noticed I didn't get any feedback. I didn't get any argument coming back the other way. No, because the reality of it is, it's today, in today's Aliyah, it's all written in the male version. There's a reason for this. There is a reason for this. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is trying, remember the Torah HaKadosh is trying to set up a perfect society, a free society under the auspices of God. Which means that everybody has a role to play in making sure that you have a society that works. What happens ultimately when you play with these ideas? Let me tell you exactly what happens. In Korea today, they're averaging less than one kid. Less than one kid. China is losing, as we all know, getting to think. No, that you could have two. They're having less than replacement. We're having less than replacement.
Yeah, I just read, even in Israel.
In Israel, the same thing.
It used to be 80% of the population were Jewish. Now it went down to 73%.
You know why? Because Tel Aviv is not having babies.
Not only babies, but the immigrants that are coming in are not Jewish.
No, that's something else. But I am telling you this other thing. It's the fact that the Tel Aviv, the Chilonim are not having babies, which is really the reason why there's all these protests, because demographically they can't keep up. But that's not my point. My point I'm trying to say is there is something flowing through the world's populations. Do you understand that Nigeria, by the end of this century, is likely to be larger in population than the United States? That's ridiculous. Ridiculous to the extreme. And it's a much smaller, it's not so much smaller. It is now over 200 million people. In spare size. No, they know the problem. And it's poor like anything. No, but it's not the United States. Okay, all I'm doing is making a point. If you read these Gemaras, Gemara is telling us something without even making it just subtly. It's right there.
Russia is 3 times the size of the United States, and they have a smaller population.
A smaller population. That's because but that's very similar. That's
most of it is.
And same thing with Russia. Everything east of Moscow, as you move further, right? That's why Russia, for all that it covers 3 continents, right, is still a European country, right? It's nonetheless a European country. Why? Because St. Petersburg and Moscow are in the west. Further, okay. Now that's the 2 Mishnahs do not contradict each other either. In our Mishnah, the context is about a woman how a woman is allowed to be engaged, betrothed. That is what you were talking about. We didn't talk about the Zavah, the woman's Zav. We talk about the Zav, and there's a reason for that. Darki shel ish libaki. It is the way of a man to be checked for the cause of his omission. But it's not the way for a woman to be checked for her condition. Because even if it happens because of an external stimuli, she still becomes tamei. If it comes from an external stimuli, he does not become tamei. Tani loshen zacha. The Torah teaches the loshen zacha. Okay. We're going to get into these rules about zav much later in Masechtas Nida, the difference in the rules, etc. Okay.
Maybe
so
explain what you mean by external stimulus.
Okay, it doesn't really. For an example, a man dances, right? Simchas Torah, his body heats up, right? He has more of a chance to have a bodily emission, right? That is not too much food. He eats a great steak and all that. He sweats it. All the idea is body heats up, possible to go with it. A woman doesn't work that way. Even if she dances or whatever it is, that's not the way it is. But again, let the Gemara, it's not here. Let's not get bogged down here. But the idea is basic. And once again,
it's so frequently The Gemara always
references this idea. Right. That's and the idea behind it, of course, is basic biology between men and women. Again, it's really, really very simple. Our organs are on the outside, their organs are on the inside. Again, it's the same play, everything. How did the Abishter create us? How did God create us? And within that, the halacha follows forward. Okay? Chazal looked at the science of biology, and said, HaKadosh Baruch Hu created that. How does the halacha fit into that? Further, my Tani Thomas Shalosh. Why did we said before? Why does it say Shalosh? Right? Mishum derachim, because it needs to be. It has to be consistent with the word derachim. So says the Gemara, who told you to use the word ways? Nisni devarim. Say with three matters, right?
When there's a hey at the end,
It's female.
it should be feminine.
Right.
But here, sholosh is feminine.
Shalosh. Yeah, I can't. I don't know the answer. Daddy. Right.
Is zofer.
Right.
To me more
Is the game. You're right.
Not consistent.
And Daddy, it's diktuk.
Yeah.
And we didn't learn diktuk in yeshiva.
It was terrible. Dictum.
And in my day, diktuk means vocabulary. Grammar, vocabulary. So they tried to teach it in our yeshivas, and the boys all revolted. This is not, we skipped. There's a bunch of Rashis.
Which is not right.
There's a bunch of diktuk Rashis, right? There are a bunch of we skipped them in yeshiva. We weren't going to be bothered.
That's where the dictum is. The word could mean hodo and do.
It's a different word, yeah. Nonetheless, we skipped them.
In the yeshivas, they didn't teach Ivrit.
No, they didn't teach
They
it.
should have.
They taught Yiddish.
I tell you, it bothers me when I go to Israel to see the Arabs speak fluent Hebrew, and I don't. I speak the biblical Hebrew.
Yes.
I remember when I was there, I needed to go to the bathroom. I asked somebody, "Hey, Paul Betakise."
I have no idea. Either the Sherutim.
Oh, Sherutim.
Even though,
if you look into the Gemara or any place, it's always basic.
by the way, Sherutim makes no sense.
Makes no sense.
I'll tell you, the word Sherut says it means services. Even the word Sherut Liumi, right? Sherut Liumi, Dati Liumi. No idea what they're talking about. Same idea. Same idea.
Amen.
You got to know these things. You torture. Right there. That's pretty cool. So let's keep going over here. So why does it say it should say devarim and listening shalisha? And when you're talking about devarim words, right, or things, it should be masculine. Because we have to talk about cohabitation. Remember, wait, let me finish this line and then we'll get to it. One second. And I'll answer that question, by the way. There's a basic answer to that. Because the Torah had to talk about cohabitation as one of the methods of Kiddushin, right? With money, with a document, and with bia. Ubia ikri derech. And cohabitation is always called a way. Diksiv, derech geber ba'alma kain derech isha min office. And the way of a man with a young woman, likewise, is the way of an adulterous woman. The answer to your question, Daddy, is who gets up to speak publicly? Who gets up to speak? I don't know what you're talking about.
The one who knows how to talk.
Yeah, the rabbi.
Okay, the rabbi, okay.
Not the rabbis.
Go ahead.
There's your answer. The Torah again is doing something again.
But why is the dover better than der?
Because davar is always masculine.
Yeah, but you translate it. B'shloisho derochem Which,
you're used to that.
So translate in three different ways is a woman's coin, right? Now you
tell
can
me, you
now
say
when you use the
that-
word- let me
Look at it. Elu Devarim.
Yes.
Everybody look. Elu Devarim Shein Lahem Shia. These are the things that do not have a
It's
shia.
things, and I'm gonna say in three things
Yes,
is a
she
woman kind.
Yes.
Which way is better to say? It sounds better to say
Only-
in three ways.
Only let me tell you why it sounds better. You know why it sounds better?
You see three things a woman is acquired, or do you say in three ways is a woman acquired?
So let me-
Yeah, but in the language,
Sounds
in
better.
three
Drachim,
ways,
yeah.
a person is you acquire something. You don't say in three things.
Actually, so this is what I'm going to tell you.
Elu Devorim is a different
Not
thing.
just Elu Devarim. I just picked one. 99 out of 100 times it uses the word double. The only reason why you like the word derech is because everybody knows this Mishnah. B'shleisha derachim, everybody.
Fits.
Daddy,
That's not
Daddy, it fits better because it comes off the thing. Biblically, Mishnah-wise, Gemara-wise, it's always Devarim. Vayedaber Hashem el Moshe Leimo.
That's something else. Like that, but I'm talking.
Okay.
He's talking.
No, Moshe Rabbeinu says,
Elu Devorim Shem and Shir. These are the things that don't have a shir.
Right.
That is the word there that doesn't fit. To say these are the ways.
Really? Let me ask you this. Okay. Elu Devarim, she'adam oichu pariseim b'olam hazeh, v'akeren kayemes li'olam haba.
People, not these are the ways.
These are the ways, much better to say, this is the way that you get to olam haba. Doesn't say that.
Doesn't say anything.
The kayemes li'olam haba.
Okay, let me see.
I know. I know what it says. I know what it says.
Also, Ashoshat Dvarim Ha'olam Omer.
We said the
Ashoshat Dvarim.
These are the things that a person eats the fruits in this world, and in order to get the
And the
Well,
kayemes,
now, correctly the other one. Elu Dorochim.
these are the
These are
ways.
the ways that a person eats the which
Gets his
sounds better.
interest.
The
Daddy,
Roman sounds better.
okay, so Daddy, I'm just saying. Anyways, let's move on.
Ashoshat Dvarim Ha'olam Omer.
It is.
It's like the whole thing.
What do we fit with Drachim too? But Drachim would fit
Not
as
as
a Shabbat.
But, all right, so further. But what could be said about the other two things, money and documents, which are not called derech by scripture? And that is my point. They're called, what are they called? Ways. Daddy, can I give you another one?
Yeah.
Al shtayim edim, or shloisha edim,
Dvarim.
the double.
Yeah,
Again, it says
double.
Yokim, not Yokim derech. The word derech is never used anywhere. This is a very rare place that it's used. I'm telling you, you'll see. If you begin to look at it, you won't find only the Torah.
But I still stick to my.
You could say, well, says Zakti Gemara, but Hatain at Pia, Kesef Shtar Ma'ikal, what are you going to say? They're not there. Then, but the Gemara should be because Bia is one of the three ways, right? And since it's included, you must have the female. You have to have the female word. V'tani tarte atuchada. And teach. And why would the Tana teach the Rochim? A word less suited to the two methods of Kiddushin, money and the document, which are male, versus the one. Haninami tzarich b'ininu. Again, why? Now the Gemara is being very subtle. Why are you giving her money or giving her this document? In order to get her into bed. So in other words, in another place in Shas, it's going to say, everybody knows why they're getting married tonight, but it's not proper to discuss it. That's how the Torah says. But everybody knows the purpose of the wedding. Everybody knows what the purpose is, but you're not supposed to discuss it. Well, of course it is. But the funny thing is, it is the ultimate reason for marriage. Because again, this is my point. Marriage is not the mitzvah. Marriage is only the hechsher mitzvah, the preparatory mitzvah to have children. And not marriage. They took marriage out and they just said, just have sex and do nothing but it. The element of having children, correct. Yes, legal children, exactly. That's what we're saying. In other words, the Torah Kiddushin is really saying, Kiddushin, the sanctification of a relationship, no different, everybody, than before we eat on Shabbos, what do we make? Kiddush. Why are we sanctifying the day? Because we're saying this meal that we're coming to sit in is either just another meal or no. It's now been sanctified. And now HaKadosh Baruch Hu and the Shabbos queen is at our table. And
that's why you always make a suit when there's something sanctified.
Sanctified is doing.
You finish, you make a scene.
You do that. The same idea. It's all the same idea. You're sanctifying a relationship, meaning it's not simply a boy and a girl coming together. No. It is a building block of society, of the Jewish people. Whereas my Zayda used to say, at every one of these things, he would bang on the table and say, Hitler didn't win, Hitler didn't win. They are buried in all that, and we are adding another brick in the eternal story of the Jewish people. And how is that story done? By having your kids get married and, God willing, having children, and it proceeds. And remember this, when your children have children, it means you live forever. A part of you is living forever.
Says Yaakov
Maybe in many ways, that's how they explain it. It's peace. That's it. It's the great gift. Remember, the gift for not killing your kids is grandkids. They all know.
You remember?
You'll know the mitzvah. One day, yeah, she had a bunch of dogs.
Yeah.
She left her money to her dogs.
Right. And he got buried next to her.
Wonderful.
The dog.
And now where's the money? Right? And let me just say, by the way, since we've all gone through it, when you pick up your first child, you pick it up with great trepidation, with great love. But now you say, this little thing has been given to me. I'm responsible for it. And everything that goes into that kid is, me. So it comes with both love and fear. The first time you pick up a grandchild, it's all love. It's all, no, am I wrong?
Because you don't have to take care of it.
Because you don't have to take care of it. It's all cotton candy. It's all cotton candy. And you try to remember that in Mitzvah Hashem. It's a difference. Okay? Okay, Mitzvah Hashem.
Something Hashem is a way to help you get more children, you end up with a bigger panos.
So yeah, somehow it works. Somehow it works it out. The ABC always works out. One works with the other. Let's keep going because once again we're getting bogged down. The Eba is. Just give me 1 second. I got to call my wife. It's 10:00. Daddy, I got to talk to you about our day today. Remember. And well, first you just go to consignment shops. If nothing else, just to browse. It's the greatest thing in the world. And then you wonder, do you know my whole house? You guys remember my house? It's all consignment. The whole thing was done with consignment. Dude, unbelievable. We never knew. We just couldn't believe it. Why are these people giving away this good looking stuff? What can you do? It's amazing. I tell you, to be so rich that you want to turn everything over every year.
They used to go in Manhattan in the fancy places. They throw out outside, like to put it.
Oh, yeah,
up.
yeah, yeah.
They
but-
pick it up, they shine, they fix it up,
And
and then
sell
they
it.
sold it for
Who knows how much? Yeah, I'm telling you, my father, we found a small place on by end of Palmetto, right over there. There's a consignment shop. We found for my father two beautiful chairs that would have cost what do you call it? Got it for $60. Yeah, all the way to the end. I think it's coconut, something like coconut. You just type in consignment shops in the house. No, the other way towards the water. Yeah. That's what I'm telling you. The federal highway's got a bunch of them. A legacy and others. Yeah, it's unbelievable. Anyways, further. In other words, don't spend money. And you used to be in the furniture business. So do you yeah, it's unbelievable. No, but I'll tell you something. We didn't understand. I still don't understand consignment shops. What are these people doing? But all right. The e-boy is saying Mahamani. Or we can say, who's the Tana of our Mishnah? Reb Shimoni. It's Reb Shimon. The Tanya Reb Shimon Oime b'pnei ma amra Torah ki yikach ish isha. Why does the Torah say when a man shall take a woman v'loiksa kosav ki silokach isha ish, when a woman shall be taken onto a man, which theoretically is more correct, because a woman has to give permission to be married, right? She's not going to get married against her will, right? You see the difference? This is important because the way of a man to pursue a woman, and it's not the way of a woman to pursue a man. The idea is like one man who lost his possession. Who searches after whom? The owner of the lost possession searches after his possession. The woman was taken from our rib. Who had the surgery? Us guys had the surgery and they took a rib from us and gave it to her. So we're missing a rib. So we're looking for our rib back. That's the analogy. But of course, underlying this is again, if you don't realize the Gemara is slamming this over your head, who chases after who? Who's the aggressor? Who's not aggressor? Who's the more assertive one? It's the male. And that is what the Torah is saying. Male personality is supposed to be that assertive thing because the Abish said, by the sweat of your brow, you will eat bread, you will work the field, you will have to go to work. That was the curse given to man, which of course was no curse. It was actually a bracha. And the women were told, you will have to carry the babies and you will have the terrible pain of childbirth. And then the Abish made the epidural. Okay? But the point there is, right? What do we think is going on here? The moment you change that obvious idea is the moment you end up with the world that we are. In 50 years, the entire world has been turned on its head in an unbelievably negative way. And it's going to be very hard to get the genie back in the bottle. Because we've explained things wrong. You see, Jews never had this problem in reality of women's rights. Because our matriarchs, we're the only religion that has matriarchs on an equal level with their patriarchs. In the way that we approach them. Because if you look at the Torah, Sarah tells you, Avraham Avinu, send away Yishmael. And then HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Shema b'kol lo, listen to her voice.
Right. Oh yeah, they made.
Rivka made the decisions. Rivka says, right? What's going on in my stomach? If not good, I'm going to die. And then she put it too. Then at the end of the parsha, she says, if Yaakov marries one of the girls of Canaan, I'm going to die. She knew how to play the emotional game with Yitzchak Avinu. I'm not making this up. The Torah brings it down. Right? She pushed Yitzchak around. Everybody knows that. The Torah makes it very clear. When it came to the stealing of the brachas, right? Why didn't Rivka go over to Yitzchak? Has anybody ever thought the question? Every other Jewish wife, what do? They go over and say, you schmuck, you're not giving the brachas to Esau, you're giving the brachas to Yaakov. Right? How come Rivka didn't go over to Yitzchak? You all know why? Because the first time she met Yitzchak, remember, she saw Yitzchak davening mincha, and the pasuk says she fell off her camel. She fainted. She saw the malachim and everything else surrounding it. That's right. That was it. Their relationship was not the regular equal relationship. She was in awe of him. That was her first impression of him, almost like a malach. Davening mincha. Mincha is considered the highest of all the tefillos. That's what it is. That's what it said. It's one, but the Yitzchak established mincha, and she saw him doing it. And so she couldn't talk to him that way. Instead, she went around him constantly. And she said, it's on me, Yaakov. You just do what I tell you. And then what happened with Rachel and Leah? The Eibishter tells Yaakov, go home, go back to Israel. What does Yaakov do? He goes and asks his wives, Hashem told me, what should I do? And they say, of course you go back. And remember, we're Lavan's daughters too. We're entitled to some of the stuff too. Go read the Pesukim. And Sipora too, by the bris. And we had a judge called.
Who's the boss in your house?
No, but I'm showing Daddy. You have to go back that far. Do you know why? Where does it come out, all those jokes about Jewish wives and Jewish mother-in-laws? You're listening to, I'm giving you where it's coming from. Tomo Devora. We had a judge called Devora who sat on the other side of the date tree so she couldn't see the men. And for 40 years, she was the shofetes. For 40 years, she was the judge. Rashi's daughters put on tefillin. The mother of the Bali Tosfos put on tefillin. The Bali Tosfos at least 3 times mentions their mothers as a psak halacha. Where do you think that strong Jewish woman who rules the house?
Side of his file cabinet, and it said it's an intelligent woman whose husband thinks he's smarter than her.
That's it. Yeah. Or the other way to say it is, we may be the head, but they're the neck, and don't tell us which way to turn.
I used to tell my student at the college, I had a lot of, most of them were women. Said, yeah, you think, here I'm the professor, full professor, very like it. When I get home, my wife says, take out the garbage.
My point here is, where does this come? This is unique to our society. You know where it comes from? Way back at the beginning. By the way, who gave Adam the apple to eat? Chava. It's always the same thing. We have strong women internally. It was always understood. The moment we cross over the thresholds of our house, we are not in charge. It's a given.
Yeah, but there it was. He loved Chava so much, and he knew that whoever ate from that fruit would die. He was thinking, if she would die, I'm left by myself. There's nobody else.
That's not what it says in the plus.
Therefore, he said, so they said,
My
we're
father's
going to
such a
die
good man.
together.
My father is such a good man. Anyway, so here we go. Anyways, all kidding aside, if you read the Gemaras here, this is all right in these Gemaras. I'm not making this. Just read the Gemaras and explain them another way. You can't. But you know it. What do you call it? That is the great strength of our people. The eternity of our people is that we have a balance that works. Break that balance and you don't last 100 years. Simple.
By the way, you should mention Rabbi Shimon, which is Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai, is the Tana that always gives an explanation for what the posuk means. But that's his explanation.
His explanation. But even though that's the great Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai, right? Lag BaOmer, Shimon ben Yochai. So we, what do we call him? The Tana Elokai, right? The Tana of God, right? He's got a special title, right? Like Rabbi HaKadosh is the only one who's ever called Kadosh.
In fact, he's always the maker.
He's always the maker, correct?
And even though he makes things easier, 90% of the time,
We don't know
when you learn Mishnayos, it says,
but we have to go at it, which, by the way, is the Chiddush. Usually it doesn't say like who the halacha is like. But every time it's Rav Shimon, it will say specifically, Ein halacha like Rav Shimon, because otherwise everybody wouldn't start up with Rav Shimon. But at the end of the day.
But the Gemara says at the end, Kedai Rabbi Shimon Lismar Cholo.
If you're in trouble and you got no choices, to rely on Rav Shimon at the end of the day.
It's not like him. You could
always hang on to Rav Shimon. Further, we learn in 7 ways that Rav is checked. Listening to Varim. Why do you have to say ways? According to you, Daddy, in this case, Elu Devarim, Shabbat Kines Azav. Elu Devarim, Shabbat Kines Azav. What's Elu Derachim? Shabbat Kines Azav. Hasam Kamash Malon, Darka de Meichel Yisrael Asila Ziva. It's the way of excessive eating to bring out the ziva. The Darka de Mishtaya Yisrael Asila Ziva. And it is the way of excessive drinking to bring one to ziva. So in other words, we're talking about the various ways of behavior, right, that will ultimately bring you to heat up your body and have out bodily emission. That's it. But it's not. Yeah, that's why it says, yeah. It's a bed now. That's what they say. But it's not esrik shabbal elam begimel derachim. This that we say that an esrik is similar to a tree in 3 ways. Listening to Varim. Instead, saying to Varim, what are we talking about over here? We're talking about the rules of Arla and Neta Rabbi. When you plant a tree, as you all know, when you plant a tree, you got to wait 3 years, and the 4th year you have to bring the fruits to the shrine. And the question, of course, is: can you go ahead and can you on the 4th year? It must be eaten by the owners within the walls of Yerushalayim, or redeemed, and the proceeds can then be taken to Yerushalayim to be spent on food there. You can read them.
From what point do you count the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd year? Is it by when the tree begins to blossom,
or when you pick
it?
Or in other words, finally, like the fruit of trees. I'm reading from the bottom of 23. Esek fruit that emerges during the sabbatical year, the Shemitah year, is subject to the restrictions of Shavuos, regardless of when the fruit is actually picked. So there's a difference. So, Zakti Gemara, listening to Gemara, Mishum to be Inan Seifel, because there the Mishnah had to mention something else. Uleyerek b'derech echad. And the yeshik is similar to vegetables in one way. It's tight, you give mice in the same way as vegetables. Okay? Yeah. That's all. So, Zakti Gemara Sefer Nami, listen to double. So just say double there too. Right? What's the point? So now we're on Gimel Amud Aleph, 3A1. Okay, we're just going to move down this thing because we're going to finish by 10:30. Kama Hasab Kama Shmalon. There it says, Ben, you with us?
Yeah.
You got it? Okay. We're on 3A1 now. Hasab Kama Shmalon. Did Arkea the Esher Kierik. The way of an esrog, the way it grows, is similar to a vegetable. That's why it's tight like vegetables. Ma yerik,
When you pick,
ma yerik darki ligadal alamai kolamai. Just like vegetables grow upon all kinds of water, from irrigation as well as rainwater. Bishas likitosa yashirai. It's tight according to the time it is picked. When it's picked, and Esser grows from all kind of water, both irrigation water and rainwater. And so when is it meiser? When do you have to separate a tenth of it to give out the meiser? Is when it's picked, not when it blossoms, but when it's picked, as opposed to a tree that works on the blossoming. Once it's 1/3 growth on the tree, it becomes mechuyev in meiser.
so you count the third year that you
Like
had to
trees.
divide it, so based on when you pick it.
When you picked it, correct.
You just give the food away the first 3 years.
Yeah, the first 3 years you actually let them fall. You let them fall to the ground, and then
Then it dropped.
you let it fall by itself, and then the poor can come and take what they want. Right, exactly. It's another way, but it teaches you. I know this is somewhat controversial.
But the reason for
Well, it's somewhat controversial, but I'm quoting Rabbi Sachs. Rabbi Sachs says, we talk about climate change and like that today. Says the Torah built in it. The Torah said once every 7 years, I want you to leave the land fallow. Once every 50 years, I want you to leave it fallow on the 49th year and the 50th year.
good for the land.
It's good for the land. He said the fruits, right? They do that. They switch up here.
Too much erosion. That's fall.
He said the Torah says the first 3 years of the growth of a tree, don't pick it. It's not good. Let the tree grow naturally. Let it grow its natural. Let its roots root deep. Let it just go natural. And when it's ready to fall off, it'll fall off. It's more healthier for the tree. In other words, don't patchka. Don't start dealing with the tree until essentially year 4. And even in year 4, now you're ready to deal with the tree. First, bring the stuff to Jerusalem. And then with year 5, you can start using it regularly. He goes through a whole litany of stuff.
That's also the reason why you should not plant the same crop every year. You're supposed to alternate with other, because otherwise
One of the reasons we say one of the things we say about shatness or kalayim, don't plow with 2 different animals. Don't plant 2 different things in one line of things. Could be argued because it's not good for the land. It's not good for the nutrients. So Rabbi Sachs has a whole, I remember on one of the Parsha, one of the things he gives out every week, discussed this and went through it. He said, it's very clear. The Torah was concerned with the environment. Okay? And therefore, you shouldn't simply poo-poo this whole environment thing, which was an eye. No. I understand that, but I'm saying, but the idea, to me, it was an eye opener. Okay? So anyway, further. As you know, everybody, there are only males and females. You can't be a female with male organs, and you can't be a male with female. However, as you know, there are domesticated animals known as behemoths. There are wild animals known as chayos. The difference between them in halacha is that an animal, a cow, for an example, if you slaughter it, the blood does not have to be covered over with dirt. A chaya, a wild animal, a deer that you slaughter, does have to have its blood covered over with dirt. It's a chaykin minatayim. That's it. There is believe it or not, there is a third kind of animal called the kvi or the koi. No one's 100% sure how to pronounce it. Koi. Now they say koi. When we were in yeshiva, they called it the kvi.
The Rebbe didn't. They didn't know dig look.
And they didn't know. They came from Europe, but that's the way they're saying. We can learn. Then in Hungary, that's the way they learned it. So we should really be using their way, but we say koi. The koi is a mix of a behema and a chaya. It's a mix. So what do you do with its blood?
No, you're not saying it right. See, there's only male and female. There's no such thing. Mix. There's a domestic animal and a wild animal. It's an animal that has characteristics,
Yeah.
but we don't know what it is.
So
It's
let me
one
finish.
or the other. He said that we
My
don't
father
know.
just made a leap that may or may not be true. My
Yeah.
father said it may be male, it may be a behema, or it may be a chaya.
No,
The
we don't know.
Gemara, we don't
Which
know.
category is it?
Or the Gemara says, is it in fact a third category?
No, like a
He may not like it, but it doesn't say it. Daddy,
right?
you know I'm right. Why are you arguing with me?
About the wild chaya and the behemoth.
You can't get me.
Wild animals, but on the other hand, it could be
For example,
what?
deer is a kosher animal.
Yeah.
So how can
That's
it
a
be
little
a chaya?
So Tumtum is what it is. It's just covered. Right. Androgynous is me. It's and the Gemara has a question. Is it a barrier b'fnei atzma? Okay. And a deer is
A bison.
doesn't matter. It has nothing to do with it. No, but a deer does. Yeah, but it's not a behemoth. It's a chaya. But here's the question. Let me just keep it simple. Is it a behemoth? Listen, is it a behemoth? Is it a chaya? Or is it a barrier b'fnei atzmai? Is it considered a barrier b'fnei atzmai? As Rabbi Warman, first name, I'm so sorry, Avi. As Avi pointed out, there's something, as you know, as an androgynous, right? And right, that has either male or female. It could either be male or it could be female, or the Gemara has a thought to say it's a barrier b'fnei atzmai, or it's a, and therefore it's a barrier b'fnei atzmai. It's a third way. So let's see how a Gemara go.
We call it a barrier.
No, it's an argument. It's an argument in the Gemara. I didn't say that. No, but you didn't say. But the Gemara has a question. Do we see it as a behemoth? Do we see it as a chaya? Do we see it as an uncertain behemoth chaya? Or does it have its own rules as a very
knowledge?
Yeah,
But in terms of if somehow you were able to talk to an angel or whatever, to the Rabban Shalom, he would tell you whether it's a
Daddy, but the Gemara, since Torah is like Shemayim, Torah is not in heaven.
right.
The Gemara has a question. Is it in fact a third way? That's a fact. The Gemara does back that up. Barry, but they ask, let's learn the Gemara. For hot, it's not. A koi who has things similar to a wild animal, all right, whose blood needs to be covered after it's slaughtered. And has ways that are like similar to a domestic animal. For example, its fats are forbidden. The fats of a wild animal are not forbidden. The fats of a domesticated animal are forbidden. But the point, and there are ways where they're similar, meaning they have to be slaughtered in order to be eaten. A koi may not be crossbred with either type of animal. A koi cannot be crossbred with a wild animal or a domesticated animal. In other words, maybe it's its own thing, right? Okay. Nisni devarim. Let the Torah talk about the word devarim, because there's no way of things that appear to be used with regard to a koi. The Su of the Tanani we also learned Su achas min haderachim This is one of the ways in which a divorce document are similar to the documents of emancipation of a slave. Nisni devarim, we should say devarim. So zek the Gemara like this: Elo kol echad ika plukta. Wherever there's a differentiation within the laws of a topic, tani derach, it teaches ways. Kol echad deleka plukta, where there is no differentiation, tanu devarim, it says devarim. Since there's a distinction between the methods of Kiddushin, only 3 ways. I want you to read the English on top. Only 3 ways affect Kiddushin, while the method of, what's the next word? Oh, first time we're banging into this word.
The method of what?
Chuppah does not. Whoa. What is chuppah? Excuse me. Where did that nosedive in here? Yes, I only explained it because I knew this was coming. Okay, but at this moment in time, it just nosedived in here. We have no idea what's going on. By the way, the Gemara is about to get to it. All right, this whole word chuppah, where does it come from? Okay, you'll notice the Rothschild in fact says, see below note 14. It's a little too early. Like, where did this show up? Right. So now, therefore, therefore by us. Right? Since there's no differentiation, there's only these 3 ways. There's no 4th way to make Kiddushin. What's Kiddushin, everybody? Kiddushin is Erusin, first step of marriage. What's the second complete step? Nesuin. Chuppah does create Nesuin. We know that because we go from the Chuppah to the Yichud room. Right? That's what we do. So, right now, but it cannot create, apparently, the first step. And in fact, we don't use chuppah as the first step. Even though we're standing under a chuppah, what do you have to do? Put a ring on her finger. You have to make erusin. Then chuppah allows you to go to Nisuin. So erusin, first step of marriage, can only be done with 3 different ways. Money, i.e. the ring, shtar, a document, or with bia. No, isn't that funny? Apparently bia and chuppah happen at the same time. It all is like, since we don't use bia, we don't get into it. All right, you get thing. But anyways, so therefore, Tani Devarim, Dekanami, I got proof to this. The Tani Sefer, Rabbi Eliezer, Oimer, Esrek Shabali Elon Lechol. What's the next word, everybody? Davar. Right? Because there's no distinction. Shmamina, where there's no side door to sneak out of both level, they will use the varim. Where I got a bunch of different ways, I'll use the rachim. Okay?
One Rebbe says this way, one Rebbe. So you say, I go according to the derech.
That's right, that's right. Very good. So for an example, if there's an argument between Rabbi Gibber and Rabbi Goldberg, we go like the way of Rabbi Gibber. Rabbi Gibber. The derech, we don't say the way. We say the way. The ways. The way. We go the way of Rabbi Gibber. Not like the matter. Derech Hashem. They're right. The Ramchal's Derech Hashem. The ways of Hashem. The way of Hashem. Right, exactly. Very good. That's it. Why? Because your rabbi's a rabbi and no bending on that. Maybe, well, let's get to it. We're going to get to it. Let's keep your guys' question, how does Bia work in reality with regard to Erusin, Nisuin with Chuppah in the middle. Let the Gemara get to it.
Now you see why we say Ela Devon Shem Levashia. Because everybody agrees.
Everybody agrees. There's nothing there. There's no out. Down. Now you got it. Now you got it. Exactly. Uminyana dereisha. The number in the first clause, we're on 382. Minyana dereisha. Right? The number in the first clause. A woman may be acquired in 3 ways. Limiyute mai is coming to exclude what? Because we have a rule. When you say a number, it means 3 only, but not a 4th. What did you mean? Uminyana de sefer, when you wrote, and a woman may acquire herself in 2 ways, with a get or with the death of her husband. Limiyute mai. Right. Minyone de Reisha. Everybody say the word together. Lemiyute. Chuppah. Bang. That chuppah does not work to facilitate Kiddushin Erison. Chuppah, whatever the heck chuppah is, seems it can only go and facilitate Nisuin.
It's to end.
Wait, wait.
To end, you gotta begin.
Again, it's we don't know what chuppah is actually. Ula Rav Huna, Da'ama chuppah kaina, who says that chuppah can even acquire, can even accomplish kedushin. You okay, Ben? Yeah. Okay. That chuppah can even accomplish kedushin. Mikal v'chayim. He learns it from a kal v'chayim, which we're gonna get to. Okay, we're gonna get to this in due course in about 2 pages. They mentioned the kal v'chayim now, but you better have patience to wait to daf A. Right? No. Lemiyute mai. No, it's not daf A. Lemiyute mai. We never give away the story. We're like Rashi. We don't give away the story. Right? Okay? Lemiyute mai. What is the number coming to do? Lemiyute chalipin. You know those glasses you just dropped on the floor? When you sell the chametz to the rabbi, right? What does he do? He takes the pen, or he takes your glasses, and he picks it up and down. It's the handkerchief. Chalipa means a handkerchief, but it means anything can be used to simply lift up. Take a yarmulke, go like this, bang, we got it good to go. It is a kinyan. So I might have thought that the woman could be betrothed with chalipin. Exactly, very good, Ben. Sal kedad chamina. I might have thought hayu v'goma kicha mistay Ephraim. We made the comparison of kicha take from the fields of Ephraim, right? And remember that Abraham Avinu took the field, right? Masa the mekane b'chalipin, just like a field could be acquired through chalipin. In other words, you can go ahead and do this, like that, and the field af ishanami mekane b'chalipin, like Ben wanted to say, it's an acquisition. Kamash Malad, that no, in fact, it's not a valid. So, afraid to Gemara, the obvious question of Ema Achanami, why not? Why not? Why doesn't it work? Zakti Gemara, Chalipin iniu pachas mishava pruta. A chalipin, when it's executed even with something that's less than a value of a shava pruta, of an eighth of an isar italki. The isha bepachas mishava pruta, and a woman with less than a pruta, loy mekanya nafshe 3b1 will not give herself over. Everybody look at number 1 on the bottom. The second half of that paragraph. This means, in effect, that when a man gives a woman an item at a value, he may not tell her that he's exchanging the item for her. Rather than he must say that he is taking, betrothed, or acquiring her through the gift. That's very important. In other words, it has to have just a minimal value, but she is not chattel. That's the point. When a husband takes a woman in marriage, it's not pshat that he's pulling her, he's buying her. He's not buying her goof, her in essence. That's not the case. Let's just go a little further. Daddy, just hang to the end. Just hold your thought, because I want to get to the end because it's late, and then we're going to stop in a minute. The number at the end, she acquires herself in 2 ways, with a get or b'misas habal, l'miyute mai, l'miyute chalitza, that she can't use chalitza to get out of a marriage. We can learn through a kal v'chayim from the laws of Yavama that chalitza can terminate. Ma Yavama shein yoytze beget, a Yavama who cannot be released from going into Yibum through a divorce. Yoytze b'chalitza gets released with chalitza. Zu she yoytze beget, a married woman who can go out with a document of divorce. Ein adin she yotze b'chalitza can go out with chalitza. Kamash v'landa, no. Frank the Gemara v'ema achanabi. Maybe she should be allowed to be divorced with chalitza. Zakti Gemara amakra karisus. It has to be a initial right for her, sefer krisus, a document of severance. We just had that a few days ago. Sefer krisus vein davar. Once again, davar. Achav krisus. Why not derech? Because no one's arguing. There is only one way. What's the one way? Through the davar. Exactly. Very good. Now, Daddy, what did you want to say?
He can only work for commodities,
Oh,
whereas a woman is not a commodity.
stop right there. That's how we know she's not a commodity. That's exactly what the Gemara is saying. The Gemara was saying you might think that in essence you're buying her, she's marking herself to you, so you own her, you're taking her, meaning you own her lock, stock, and barrel. Suck the Gemara, she's not a commodity. That's why you can't use Khalifin. It's not as simple. Yes, it looks like from the outside that it is a transaction. And let me tell you the flip side of that.
Transaction because you write the ksuba.
You do.
So you put
No,
down an amount of money.
That's okay. But nonetheless, it's you don't own her. And let me tell you the reason why you might think that you do. Not just these words, but biblically, you need her permission to get married, but you could divorce her against her will. Why? Because she belongs to you. You took her. You have the choice, of course, once that happens. No, you couldn't even do it back then. The rabbis came along and put a stop to that right away. But biblically. But why is it permitted biblically? Because the law is you're taking her in marriage. Once you take something, you go to the store and you buy something. Can anybody tell you if you want to throw it out afterwards? No. So you can throw it out. Come to Rabbanan to say that's not what the Torah was having in mind. Because she's not chattel. She's not chattel.
Not a commodity.
Not a commodity. Exactly. That's very good, everybody. Good day of learning. We actually did it down.